January 16th, 6:12 Eastern Standard Time in the evening hours. Happy Friday to you, my audience. What's going on? Can I still say Happy New Year 16 days into the year? Why not? TJ Trossett turns 26 tomorrow. Everybody's getting together for his birthday in New York besides me. Happy birthday, little bro. Miss you. I love you. Wish I could be with the fam this weekend. The show is brought to you by my friends at FanDuel. Great to be with them for the entire 2026 calendar year. It's a brand new sponsor. And to be quite honest with you guys, I wouldn't be able to reel in these new opportunities without you guys showing up on a consistent daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis year round. So for that, thank you. And thanks to FanDuel and thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of the program as well. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership this off-season. And let's get into the content, shall we? Because we got some new buzz and rumblings that's starting to surface and drop. NFL insider Jordan Schultz had a few things to say on Jesse Minter, one of the Ravens candidates. We're still waiting to see and hear who that 16th mystery candidate is that Eric DeCosta alluded to earlier this week during the Ravens press conference on Tuesday. And so I guess we just wait and see until then. But Jesse Minter getting a lot of buzz, a lot of these vacancies, even though, funny enough, John Harbaugh has not yet been confirmed in New York, but I have to think that it's only a matter of time when, not if, they get that done. Matter of fact, Ian O'Connor, who's been on top of this for a while now, just tweeted out that sure looks like that negotiation, that process is going to go deep into the evening tonight. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, I think you can pretty much write that in ink that Harbaugh is going to the Giants. So that means there's 8 vacancies around the league, including the Ravens. We'll hear from Jordan Schultz in just a second. And being that Mike McDaniel completed his interview, his first round interview with the Ravens for their head coach position yesterday, I think you're going to want to hear from former Ravens tight end Darren Waller, Johnny Manziel's podcast. Those two sat down. And you want to hear some nitty-gritty X's and O's, brilliant football mind commentary in terms of what makes Mike McDaniel a really impressive candidate and a fun offensive mind to be paired with Lamar and what the Ravens are doing offensively in Baltimore. You're going to want to stick around for that. So I'll have that coming up in just a bit. We'll open up the guest lines as always. And if you could vote in the poll, I'd appreciate it. Coming up on 100 votes. And as I continue to kind of give you different candidates. If you think that I'm just going to get bullied by you and throw Brian Flores in there because some of you being loud in the live chat, think again until there's some concrete evidence to suggest that he's a legit candidate in Baltimore. Then I'm just going to he's outside my top 5. I don't know why I need to keep explaining that. It doesn't mean that he's out of the conversation by any stretch of the imagination. And I will bend the knee in one area because I have some Albert Breer commentary from him on what would make him a good fit in both Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So I will have some Brian Flores chatter right now, leading the way as we approach 100 votes early on in tonight's poll in terms of choosing your next Ravens head coach. Robert Saleh's at 53%, Jesse Minter 28%, Mike McDaniel 16%. I wonder if that number changes after you hear this piece from Darren Waller, and Kevin Stefanski at 3%. And I don't expect him to be. Look, he's in there because there's rumblings. Pelissero suggesting that he could potentially have a second interview with the Ravens in person next week. And so that's why I threw him on there. I know he's not going to be a sexy pick, but I'm throwing him on there. Let's see how it fares, and we will adjust accordingly in the days ahead. All right? And Tisha, the poll ain't for you. You get to vote in the poll. I'm not putting the poll together for you, Tisha. I love you. But let's get to it. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, on some rumblings he's hearing as it relates to the next order of business for the Ravens and perhaps their interest in a former assistant under John Harbaugh. That's Jesse Minter.
Viewed as the best job. You have an amazing owner in Steve Bisciotti, a really smart front office, and a really good roster. The Ravens are going to look for the best coach they can find, but finding someone who can take this team and that MVP caliber quarterback, Lamar Jackson, to places they haven't gone yet is what they're going to prioritize. The type of self-assured coach with the confidence to take over the reins from someone like a John Harbaugh, not easy to do, but also be able to delegate. Harbaugh for as great as he was, did not call plays. I'm not convinced yet that Baltimore wants to go really young with the head coaching hire, but one of the names that has been attached to them consistently from what I've heard is Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator with the Chargers. At the end of the day, what they're really looking for is a culture setter.
Okay, so he's hearing that Jesse Minter is garnering interest in Baltimore. Obviously. He's garnering a lot of interest around the league. And I could see why he would be an attractive candidate for the Ravens, not only based on familiarity, not only based on the experience at the collegiate level, having won a national chip with Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. But look, when you look around the league, and I know everybody's asking, why aren't you viewing Brian Flores in the same light that you aren't with these other candidates? And while there's a multitude of reasons as to why, which I've talked about, and I just think some of you have selective hearing because he's your candidate, and that's fine. But I think a part of my process as I look into this and analyze it from my vantage point is, what is the rest of the league saying without saying it? And when you look at the candidacy between, for the purpose of this conversation, Minter and Flores, it's night and day in terms of the interest that their candidacy is getting throughout the league. And so you see Cleveland has already taken a look at Minter. Pittsburgh wants to take a look at Minter. The Ravens have completed a look at Minter initially. Most of the vacancies have. Now, that's not to say that Flores hasn't garnered some attention as well. Pittsburgh wants him, at least initially. The Ravens looked at him initially. Others are looking at him for defensive coordinator, but obviously he wants to shoot higher, and he should, because he was a former head coach, and he feels like he deserves another shot. And maybe somebody's going to give him another shot. And maybe, just maybe, the Ravens will be that team. I don't believe that to be true as of right now, January 16th, 6:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at this moment. So that's a part of the process too. But I think there's a lot to like about a guy who's been in the building. And I get it. Some of you will lose sleep over it initially if it ends up being Minter, because you just can't bear the pain of the fact that it would have been within the Harbaugh tree and you want a clean slate. And I get that. I recognize that. But who's to say that just because there is that familiarity and that relationship between Jim and John, knowing that Jesse's served under both, who's to say that some of the shortcomings that plagued the Ravens and became behavioral trends in big moments that's led to early exits in the postseason or failures in key moments like the AFC Championship game, who's to say those things are going to stem down and continue under Minter's tutelage? And who might Minter bring with him in terms of his staff? That brings me to Mike McDaniel. The Ravens completed their interview with the former Dolphins head coach yesterday. And Greg Auman, national reporter for Fox Sports. Kind of an interesting little twist here in terms of what he's hearing from perhaps the McDaniel camp, if you will. And I know this has got some of you salivating at the idea of McDaniel potentially calling plays in a non-head coach role for Lamar Jackson's offense. He interviewed today, just up the road from me, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their for their offensive coordinator vacancy. And Greg notes that he would consider a great offensive coordinator opportunity better than a not great head coaching vacancy. Leads you to believe that I suppose the Ravens could be one of those. But I think he would probably want to be the head coach in terms of his first preference with the Ravens. But let's go and take a look at the way the players speak of him, because Darren Waller played for him this year before he was banged up and got injured as a member of the Miami Dolphins. If you remember who Darren Waller is, he was one of the Ravens' findings, one of Ozzy's findings. Darren, of course, is a Landover, Maryland native. That's where he was born. But he moved all around, played high school football in Georgia, went to Georgia Tech. The Ravens selected him in the 6th round of the 2015 NFL draft. And he really kind of came onto the scene, developed there, went on to have a lot of success with the Raiders. And at 33 years old, probably going to have a chance to continue his playing career after he retired. Did not play in the 2024 season and decided to come back. But I want you to listen to the way that Darren talks about Mike, the way that Johnny Manziel, who's the host of this podcast, Glory Days, talks about Mike. They overlapped together when he was the wide receivers coach in Cleveland. And if you're not salivating as a Ravens fan at the end of this clip, I got nothing for you. Listen to this.
Bro, he's a human computer, bro. Like, it's crazy. There's a week we played the Chargers, bro. This dude started making up formations, bro, and he broke down, like he was telling us this, he broke down how the Chargers, how their quarters defense is set up. They and when they have like if you put 4 to a side, they put everybody over into the corner of the formation. He's like, wherever we run this play from, it was like basically like a G scheme to the right. He's like, wherever we run this play is going to hit for a touchdown. And it was early in the game, and Vaughn scored from like 60 something on the play because we put 4 into the boundary, and he figured out that defenses shit themselves. If you put somebody like in a slot formation, but they're 5 yards in the backfield, they don't know how to treat him as a running back or as a slot receiver.
So if he's pretty much even with the quarterback and you just move him out 8 yards to the left of where the quarterback is and you just flex him out like that, they have no idea?
They had no idea what to do. There's a whole bunch of teams we started playing from there to where the run game really took off because these different formations, they started throwing Dan Brunskill like extra O lineman as a tight end, and he had to have him going across the formation and shit. But yeah, just the way that he really got like in his like designer bag for the run scheme just alone. And then the passing game as well. It's just like thrown into those windows. Everything is just like that anticipation, just like throwing it, really just having the faith to put it there. If you paused it, as the ball's leaving the quarterback's hand, you'd be like, why is he throwing it there? But then Waddle's flying in there, catching it. I'm coming in, catching it like right on time. Like,
I would be so interested to see what he's calling his stuff and like formation based wise. Like, obviously, whenever I was with McDaniel, he was our receivers coach in Cleveland. But, you know, we would get into like early in the week or something. It'd be like a Monday after our like, you know, workout that you have after a game on Sunday. The next day you go in, you do your workout, and it'd be like, yo, what are we thinking for this week? What are our runs going to be? And I remember Shanahan being like, you know, me and McDaniel haven't sat down on it. So like the way he evolved as far as learning everything, you know, he was our receivers coach, but he's doing our entire run game package for the whole week. So just like how much he knows about ball, the whole thing was just like crazy to see. Like I don't see how there's any way he doesn't get another opportunity somewhere else. I would be shocked because, in my opinion of how he is, I think the guy is deserving of being a head coach.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant, man. I mean, like you see throughout the year, it's like everybody needs somebody to blame for everything. But it's like you look back over the season, it's like, man, this dude is like the shit that he's preaching, what he's teaching, how detailed he is, how he's explaining stuff to us. It's like, bro, I feel prepared going into every game. I know like certain situations, what to expect coverage wise. Like he breaks that shit down for real. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if there's anything that people think that he needs to grow in, I feel like he's smart enough guy to realize like, okay, maybe these are certain things that I could have done better. These are certain situations where I could have held people to a higher standard. Whatever he takes away from it, I know for a fact that he's going to apply that information. He's too fucking smart. Not
100%.
Anybody want to vote for Mike after listening to that? Mike is 42. He'll turn 43 this March. He began his coaching career as an intern with the Denver Broncos in 2005. Crazy enough, he was a wide receiver for Yale. He is Yale educated, which, as you can see, when you're using the words brilliant and human computer, as these two former players did about Mike McDaniel to refer to him as, it makes sense. When you go to Yale, yeah, you're sure. I guess the way to go in through the back door at Yale is through a potential football program or a scholarship athletically wise, but I think it was deserving for Mike and some of his abilities as a high processor, really intelligent person. From there, he was an offensive assistant in Houston from 2006 to 2008. Hopped around with the then Redskins, Went to Cleveland as the wide receivers coach. That's when he overlapped with Manziel. That didn't necessarily work out for Johnny too well at the NFL level. I think we all know that. The Falcons, he was an offensive assistant for a couple of years, then came to San Francisco under Shanahan as the run game coordinator, then the OC. He was promoted in 2021 and, of course, got his first head coaching opportunity with the Dolphins from 22 to 25. He was an above 500 head coach, 35-33. He was 0-2 in the postseason. So that's sort of the resume in terms of Mike McDaniel's past. But there was a lot to like there in what one of his former players, Darren Waller, had to say. And I'll just transcribe what stood out to me in listening to that. And again, that's the Glory Days podcast, Johnny's show. You can go check it out in full. I believe that dropped within the last few days. So, quote, this dude started making up formations, and he broke down how the Chargers' quarters defense is set up. If you put four to a side, they put everybody over into the corner of the formation. He was like, wherever we rerun this play is going to hit for a touchdown. And it was early in the game, and Devon Achane, the Ravens know all about him. They won the game on Thursday night earlier last year, but Achane torched him that night. Maybe not in terms of overall yards in the box score, but he was torching them all night. A bunch of missed tackles were forced because of Achane's lateral quickness, agility, and everything that makes him such an explosive player. But sure enough, he went for 60-something. So he went on to say he's brilliant, the shit that he's preaching, what he's teaching, how detailed he is, how he's explaining stuff to us. I feel prepared going into every game. And Manziel added, I don't see how there's any way he doesn't get another opportunity somewhere else. I think the guy's deserving of being a head coach. But as Greg's reporting suggested earlier on, if he doesn't deem it to be a good job, then he might be okay taking an offensive coordinator job elsewhere. And perhaps that ends up being a place like Baltimore, depending on the ultimate head coach that's decided by Steve Bisciotti and company. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also thought this little snippet right here, NFL Films, I believe, maybe it's Dolphins Productions, not sure. Just saw it on my Twitter and made sure to bookmark it. Just kind of gives you the whole relatability and how he develops and interacts with his players. Here's Mike.
That you have as a coach with a player.
You realize how long we've been waiting for that one?
You know, telling them the right things, giving them the right opportunities, putting them in the right positions.
You said
you have to acknowledge the fact that this is their moment. This is something that you build to, you dream of, and then after the fact you reflect on for the rest of your life. And it's really your identity.
But what I'm telling you is like...
So knowing that you're in that moment, how do you not attach yourself to the journey? How do you not try to help?
The detail with which I coach routes is very different on a lot of them. Here's why.
The journey that people are on, I don't take lightly. The responsibility, I don't take lightly. That part is a non-negotiable in the job to me.
I want you guys to be your very best that you can possibly be. So then your career is as good as it can be. You can be as rich as you can be, so that I can be rich.
We're going to be the best players on our field. Better believe that shit.
Take it personal. Hey, man, have fun playing. This is so earned. You're playing with dudes that...
A lot of talent.
Fucking it's fun, bro. And they're locked in.
Yeah.
See that?
Look, I know one of those players was Jalen Phillips there, and he was traded at the deadline this year to Philadelphia, and he made it pretty clear how excited he was to be out of Miami with a different organization in the Eagles, and I get all that. That went stupid viral if you guys followed that. But let's be honest, when you go from a team that was dealing with a level of dysfunction in Miami, I think you're going to be pretty darn happy to go to a different place competing for a Super Bowl, but then he probably realized, oh, shit, I ended up in a place that actually has more dysfunction than where I was. Like, I think you could argue that Philadelphia had more dysfunction. Yeah, they won more games, one and done exit in the playoffs. But I think the Eagles probably had more dysfunction this year than the Dolphins, which is really a conversation for another time. He's likable, man. He's a likable guy. I know he comes across as awkward and his press conferences are a little clunky. But sometimes when you're brilliant like that and you have that level of football IQ and understanding of the game and the ability to put together game plans. Look, this is an offense that hung 70 points on the Denver Broncos a few years ago. Now, I get it. It was Sean Payton's first year there, and they were kind of overhauling everything and getting things to where he needed them to be. But 70 points, a 70 burger. I remember when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in 2019 hung 59 on the Dolphins down near his hometown in what was his first full season as a starter. I think we all remember that. Here he is talking about his potential, don't know if it's going to be a thing, potential future starting quarterback. I know it's early for that, but Mike McDaniel on Lamar a few years ago.
Offered my skill set to be scout team quarterback to try to replicate it, but it was not accepted. So it's hard to even give an appropriate look. He's just that type of player, and outside of this game, I'm just happy for the player, because what I recognize is, you talk about an unbelievable talent, but even him, he's had to say, he's had to define himself. He's had people tell him what he is, and he disagrees. And how can I tell? It's not because I've had a conversation with him. I see better than I hear.
I see better than I hear. That was several years ago, before Lamar. I mean, I shouldn't say before. I think that was 2023. So Lamar was more than proven at that point. But I can remember that one going stupid viral. Mike talking about Lamar, coming to his defense, building him up as an outsider, just throwing it out there. Mike seems like a pretty darn likable candidate. And let's get an update on the poll in terms of how it's hitting for you guys. Not so much in the poll. 250 votes. Saleh leads the way by a comfortable margin, 53%. Mike Mack, meaning McDaniel, 24%. Minter, 21%. Stefanski, 3%. We're going to get to the guest lines here in just a second. Appreciate you guys for being with me. But first, this episode is brought to you by my friends at FanDuel, and thrilled to be with FanDuel now for the 2026 year. It's a brand new sponsor here inside this channel, and none of this works, guys, without you. And if you go over to sportsbook.fanduel.com, you'll be able to check out the NFL games, the spreads, what's going on this weekend, of course, with the divisional round. It'll be Buffalo at Denver. It's the first of 4 games. Bills and Broncos. Denver favored by 1.5 at home. Something to look at. Over under set at 46.5. And the crazy thing about this weekend is that if you're really invested in this head coach search, which I would imagine the majority of you are as Ravens fans, every single game but one, meaning Houston and New England on Saturday in the primetime hour, has a candidate, has at least one candidate that the Ravens have on their group of 15. So every game besides Houston and New England of interest, if you want to take a look at future candidates. Denver, of course, has Vance Joseph and Davis Webb. Buffalo has Joe Brady. San Francisco has Robert Saleh. Seattle has, and maybe Saleh would take Clay Kubiak with him, who is the offensive coordinator, but not on a full-time basis under Kyle Shanahan. Seattle has Clint Kubiak as the full-time offensive play caller. The Rams have Chris Shula as defensive coordinator, pass game coordinator. Nate Shieldhouse, former quarterback at the collegiate level at Illinois. So there's a lot to like when you take a look at all these games coming up this weekend. Gamble responsibly. Bet smart. Appreciate FanDuel for the continued support of the program. And what I'm asking you tonight is what I've just presented the last 20 plus minutes. How intrigued are you by the prospect of Mike McDaniel being not just a dark horse candidate for the Ravens, but a good fit for Lamar Jackson, whether it be head coach or offensive coordinator? Where are you at on that? Do you like it? Are you concerned with the fit? Do you think he was given a raw deal in Miami? Do you think he'd be better off as an offensive coordinator for a couple years before he gets his next chance? Where are you at? Guest lines are open. I have given you 90 seconds. I expect a thank you at the top of every single call-in. 90 seconds. We're talking Mike Mack. Let's get to it. Waiting room's cooking. Maurice, Trey, Juice Box, Jay Moore. What's going on, fellas? Good to be with you tonight. Over 1,000 concurrents and counting. If you could like the video on the way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership this offseason. Juice Box, let's start with you, brother. Welcome back, my man. How you doing?
What's going on, man?
It's good to see you.
Earlier you said something. You was talking about Mike McDaniel, and you were talking about. First of all, I would be okay. I'd be okay with him as an OC. I think he would be better as an OC because when you're the head coach, your scope is too wide. So if we narrow him down there, all he got to do is worry about one side of the ball. I'd be okay with that. But you said something earlier about
mini Juice.
You said something earlier about him and the conditions that he had to go through when he was in Miami or whatever. And for me, that's the same. It's the same grace that we would give him is almost the same grace I believe that we as a football viewership should give Brian Flores because he was in adverse situation too. The only difference is by the time Mike McDaniel got there, the whole tanking and everything had kind of calmed down because they figured they kind of had something set. But that organization is still just, it's ridiculous. And my father is a diehard Dolphins fan. So I follow a lot of what's going on down there. And I just, whether we get Brian Flores or Robert Saleh, I want either one of them just because they, I trust them a little bit more. But I just think sometimes we overemphasize the bad part of what happened with that pertains to Brian Flores, and we underemphasize the conditions he had to go through.
Fair enough, Juice Box.
But I'll take either one.
Appreciate the call, brother.
Yes, sir.
You and Minnie, you have a nice Friday night. Bye-bye. Love that. It's a family affair inside the channel tonight. Look, I'll be frank with you guys. I appreciate that, and I acknowledge that, and I'll just be frank and honest with you. The difference for me, when I evaluate, as he just did, Saleh and Flores, I'm not hearing, and I get it. It's years ago. It's 2022. It's years ago. And the chance that Brian had to go and resurrect his career and image and reputation with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, I hope the best for him. And I hope that all of that reputation stuff, the credible stuff that's out there, is all for naught when it's all said and done and he gets a chance to right the wrongs. But I do put a level of emphasis into Fitzpatrick, into Tua, and that reputation stuff from his time in Miami. I do. I also acknowledge the level of dysfunction and the allegations that are out there from his time under Stephen Ross. Two things can be true. But that type of stuff out there, that reputation, those legitimate critiques, those harsh critiques, you don't see those on Saleh out there. You don't see those on Stefanski out there. So for me, that is weight. That has weight to it. And if you don't feel like that does because it's years ago, then that's your prerogative. You can crash out as a result of that. I'm telling you how I feel about it. And that's what I'm standing on. We'll see what Bisciotti thinks. 90 seconds on the clock tonight. More national reaction from a Ravens perspective before we get back to the guest lines.
Jesse Minter should be the next head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Mel. What about you? Jesse's a good coach. He's got the connections, obviously. I like Clint Kubiak for what he's done out in Seattle. And, of course, his father was here. Gary, brother is the offense coordinator in San Francisco, but it's obviously Shanahan's offense. But I think, Kubiak, you hear Stefanski, you hear others. Minter has that connection. And I don't know, they're going through everybody. And Eric DeCosta, Steve Bisciotti, Ozzie Newsome are going to make that call. When John Harbaugh was hired, guys, we didn't know it was going to be John Harbaugh. We had no clue because he was a special team coach with the Eagles. There were a lot of other candidates. And here John Harbaugh comes to Baltimore. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're going to do. I haven't spoke to Eric DeCosta about that. Let them make the pick, then I'll speak because I don't want to have anything to do with that. At the end of the day, I think they got some good candidates. Minter's name's going to come up in a lot of different places. But again, there's a lot of solid candidates. It's not that elite. That's the one thing this year there was lacking. We thought Kingsbury would be the guy, but then, hey, Jaden gets hurt, and then he's let go. But after what he did, to get them with a rookie Jaden Daniels to where they did, he was getting a lot of credit. And there's, like I say, McCarthy seems like he's not there. We talked about others that we thought would be in the mix aren't. So I have no clue. That's a Schefter. That's an Adam deal. Adam Schefter is inside on that, and others. Where Peter Schrager's got his pulse of that. I'd stay away from that. What I have coming out on Wednesday, guys, is my first mock draft of the year.
Okay.
On Wednesday of this week coming up, I have mock 1.0, and it's not going to be easy because.
All right, we'll get to mock draft season when we can. I'm not even remotely close to that. We got a head coach search to continue to dive into, and Mel, of course, is doing it all, and Baltimore's finest right there. The guy is freaking hilarious. Calvert Hall alum, he best of the best. Jesse Minter getting more love there from Freddie on the national level, ESPN. Jim Harbaugh spoke about Jesse Minter's candidacy recently.
Just really everything, all the things. Tremendous knowledge of the game, great team, teammate. I mean, I can just just works so well with the general manager head coach relationship is going to be tremendous with him. That's really important. Just his ability to motivate, just all aspects, teacher, and it's always about the team. There's no ego there. Self-promoting. I think that's really important in the team environment. But check every box, everything. You got a box to check? Check it. Check it with Jesse. And I know I've said that many times, and he's had several have reached out, interview requests. So no surprise.
One of the many are the Ravens. And take a look at this. This is from December 26th. Guy named Joshio's tweets. And what this is defensive performance versus playoff teams. Again, this was back in late December. And what you're looking at is teams that are ranked through a composite of EPA, which tracks efficiency, overall performance, points per drive, and drive success. And again, this is defensive performance logged against current playoff teams less than a month ago. And the Chargers were right there neck and neck at this time with the Houston Texans. And of course, the Texans are still in the dance and could very well ride an unbelievable defense led by D'Amico Ryans all the way to the Super Bowl. I'm picking them this weekend in the divisional round for sure. I think they upset. Who do they have? Pittsburgh, New England. They got Texans, Patriots Sunday at 3:00. It's a pretty impressive list right here. Sorry if that's a little bit too zoomed out, but that's Jesse Minter's defense. He's getting a lot of looks. 8 total vacancies right now if you take John Harbaugh out of the equation. And apparently this is going to go deep into the evening hours. Connor just tweeted a little while ago, who's been following this closely. Sounds like John Harbaugh and the Giants might take this deep into the night tonight, more likely tomorrow. Things are still okay. Hang in there. Still a lot to review in the contract. John and GM Joe Shane have gotten along. Can't see this unraveling. Both sides know way too much is at stake. So all that dancing in the streets from earlier in the week, maybe not so much as the Giants and their fan base cling to the hope that this gets across the finish line. Wolf How Lionheart says Harb's taken a lot of the mid-Ravens players. Yes, please. We did a segment on that today on the Vault. Maybe that's what you're referring to, Wolf. Who might he poach, both staff and player-wise, meaning guys that are in expiring contracts, staff members who have been given the opportunity to test the waters that may be under contract in Baltimore, that Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta and company have said, hey, go see what's out there. We did a whole segment on that earlier this afternoon. It's the second half of the Vault. Go check it out. Before I open up the guest lines, I told you that I would throw in some positive coverage of Brian Flores from Albert Breer, NFL insider. And this is what that sounded like.
Flores fits that. Brian Flores has coached now in different places. You know, he coached, of course, for Bill Belichick for all of those years as a head coach in Miami. Then he gets a chance to coach with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Coached in different looking programs, coached in different in programs that have different, belief systems. And so I think Brian Flores not only, cuts the figure of a Ravens or a Steelers coach, but also can be adaptable enough to adjust to what those teams have always been. And so I think Brian Flores would be a good fit in both Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And it's for the reason that I think those jobs are going to require you become a little bit more what they are. And I think Brian Flores already has a lot of the beliefs and the qualities that a Steelers and Ravens coach has. The belief in physical football, the belief in being multiple and aggressive on defense. He has all of that. And he's also got the adaptability from having worked in different places.
I think there's a couple of key words that are used there, right? Adaptability sticks out like a sore thumb because that's what the Ravens want in their guy. But being receptive and willing to be molded to the Raven way, that's what they want more than anything else. And, of course, they want somebody that can reach, bring the best out of Lamar Jackson. Albert calls it a good fit, both in Baltimore and in Pittsburgh. Let's see if he gets a second interview. I think the finalists are really going to start to materialize next week. Next week, buckle up. I think you're going to see a lot of these vacancies, those 8 that remain out there. I think you're going to see a lot of this start to take shape next week. Should be interesting. To the guest lines we go. 90 seconds on the clock. Waiting room is still cooking. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Hope you're winding down your weeks accordingly. Trey, EB, Maurice, all posted up down there. Let's get you guys in here. Trey, welcome back to the program, brother. 90 on the clock. What do you got for us tonight?
Hey, Bobby, yeah. So I've been more impressed by Jesse. Jesse is kind of solidified my number one, and I don't think it's changing too much now. Actually just doing research, just looking at everything that he portrays. He portrays a little bit more of a dominant defense, very adaptable, and he gets along with, I can't get over what Jeff said about Mentor being good friends with Lamar a little bit while he was there and his tenure in Baltimore, joking with him and stuff. So that's also good that he has that relationship, that it actually comes into play that I just watch how he does good against defenses that good against offenses like in the playoffs. Like I looked at the playoffs the year before, he did great, and then the playoffs this year he did great. He was very consistent. The only thing that I will say I'll get nervous about is mobile quarterbacks have kind of killed him a little bit every now and then. But other than that, he's solid for me. And if anybody in the chat wants to know about if he can show this dominant personality, check the Ohio State. I'm a Columbus guy, so check Ohio State-Michigan game and watch him wave bye to everybody in Ohio State and rub it in our face. He's like that. He is. He's a rival eater. He is like that.
That's the shit that people want to know right there. That's the stuff. Appreciate you, Trey. Thanks for the call, brother.
He was mean.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. Thank you. And that matches up with what Jimmy told me the other day. And I know, reserve your criticisms. I'm going to cut to this again because I think it's a good clip. All right, so mute me. Jimmy Smith on Jesse Minter. They overlapped in Baltimore, of course, before Jimmy retired from the game. And Jesse, of course, was under John Harbaugh for a few years from 2017 to 2020 before he got some experience at Vanderbilt as a DC and, of course, at Michigan.
I mean, Jesse's a great coach. He's just very, let's say, very Michael McDonald-ish in the sense that they both came in assistants, and those are the guys that, before games you're like, hey, give me a couple extra nuggets, because those guys study the game so well, and they know and they prepare very well. So I feel like with Jesse, I'm not gonna call him Mike McDonald, obviously, but that's kind of the mold I would see him in. Like, he's a defensive minded guy. He was our DB coach and has respect of the players and communicate with us. When he used to run the meetings, when he used to do his time doing the meetings back then, it was like he did a great job. So it's not a person that's like scared to speak up and all that. So I've been watching his career since he left us and watch him at Vanderbilt, and he's been doing a good job. But that you just never know. Like I said, it's hard to know what the Ravens are, because the like I said, the guy Davis Webb, I'd never thought, who was that? Who was that guy? And then it's like, oh, okay. They obviously, have a different thought process than we do as fans, and they are looking at different stuff. But it seems like by the list that we're going offensive.
Maybe, but there's also been a pretty big, since Jimmy and I caught up, the list has grown, and it is pretty balanced if you look at it. Chris Shula, defense. Nate Scheelhaus, offense. Nagy, offense. McDaniel, offense. Brady, offense. Kubiak, offense. Weaver, defense. Minter, defense. Saleh, defense. Bisciotti, bows. Schwartz, defense. Webb, offense. Kingsbury, offense. Joseph, defense. Flores, defense. Stefanski, defense. Offense. Stefanski, offense. And hey, keep this in mind going into next week, okay? With the divisional round coming up. Candidates whose seasons are still alive, and there's several of them that will be after this weekend. So candidates who advance on to championship weekend cannot do in-person interviews next week. Meaning if the Ravens have their heart set on someone who advances on and wins this weekend, then they're going to have to wait between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl, or the week after the Super Bowl, to bring that candidate or candidates in person. So that's that nuance under the NFL guidelines that are in place with how things work this time of year. So just keep that in mind as this starts to develop. Maurice, get on in here, brother. 90 seconds on the clock. Talk to me tonight, brother. Welcome back to the program.
All right, thanks for having me. I'm a little iffy on having Mike McDaniel as head coach. I wholeheartedly believe that his best bet is to stick to being an offensive coordinator. Now, if you look at the Dolphins' offense last year under Mike McDaniel, it was like they were ranked like 13th in total offense, despite the key injuries to the likes of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for a short period. But I feel like if you bring in Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator, it's like that would help give this Ravens offense that extra push that they needed. And I could also say the same for having Robert Saleh as a head coach, because, another one of those defensive-minded coach that could fit the mold here in Baltimore. So, like, if we get the extra push on both sides of the ball with McDaniel as offensive coordinator and Saleh as head coach, it's like we can most definitely get back to our winning ways if boss man Bisciotti plays his cards right in terms of hiring the right guys. But that's the way I look at it. But that's all I got for y'all.
Thanks, brother. Happy Friday, man. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks for the call, man. Guest lines are open if you'd like to share a thought. Happy Friday to everybody. My man didn't even use his 90 seconds. You people are bitching about the 90 seconds, this, that, and the other. You don't even use the full goddamn time limit? I'm just kidding, Maurice. I appreciate you. We're talking about Mike McDaniel. Some really interesting commentary making its way around the Twitter sphere from Darren Waller and Johnny Manziel on just how much of a brilliant mind he is from an offensive standpoint. Darren referred to him as, quote, a human computer. That's pretty cool. Trey Casey says, let's be real. Ohio State versus Michigan is the biggest rivalry game in college. The number 1 defense and NFL top 4. He's obviously like that. He's not a cheater. Trey responding to some of you who questioned his candidacy, or I should say his desire in, or let's say his interest in Jesse Minter's candidacy. And Trey, of course, is in Columbus, probably not far from my co-host, Sarah Ellison. Appreciate you, Trey, for the super chat. Thanks to you guys for being with me tonight. If you haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join the Discord server. We're coming up on 1,200 members. It is free to join. I'll update the pinned comment in just a second. That group's been buzzing today, of course, as this search rolls on in Baltimore and beyond. Let's get an update on the poll that I threw out there tonight as we approach 400 votes in choosing your next head coach of the Ravens as of today. 51% of you have voted in favor of Robert Saleh. 26% of you are interested in Mike McDaniel. 18% say Jesse Minter, and 5% say Kevin Stefanski. Why do I have Stefanski on the list? Because of Tom Pelissero's commentary earlier today suggesting that there may be a second interview, an in-person interview scheduled coming up next week between Stefanski, a free agent, having been fired by Cleveland, and the Ravens brass, led by DaCosta, Sashi Brown, Ozzie. And then once they get down to the nitty-gritty of finalists, Steve Bisciotti will hop up in his private jet from Florida, and hopefully Lamar will be there with him. Hopefully he answers the bell, because he was challenged. Make no mistake about it. That was a challenge. That's the way I interpreted it earlier this week during that Tuesday State of the Ravens press conference that had all the NFL world talking. For sure. EB, are you with me? If you are, turn that camera on, baby. Where you at, EB? I would love to know what the hell you're doing tonight. I wonder who you got next to you tonight, by the way. All right. You guys are so funny, man. Disingenuous poll. You shove that poll up your arse, XVYJZ0. It's my poll, and you get to vote in it. And I'll make it, I'll adjust it accordingly based on how I'm feeling. You vote in it. That's why there's 4 different people to vote from. How's that? My poll. EB, 90 seconds on the clock. Talk to me. What's going on tonight?
Oh my gosh, bro. You make this shit so fucking.
Get your shit together, EB, before you come on this channel. What the hell is going on over there, EB? Son of a. What do we think we're doing here? We'll give him a second. I'm going to update the pinned comment so you guys can join the Discord group while he gets his shit together. EB, I love how he's a hustler, but what the hell is he doing out there? We need quality from an audio standpoint and a visual. We got how many concurrents do we have right now? We got over 1,300 concurrents. Come on, EB. Discord access link is now pinned. The live chat pinned comment has been updated as EB's time tick, 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 tick. We'll think about if I want to have him back on there. Hold on a second. I got time for X. You know what? Hold on a second. EB, I'll bring you on here in a second. Here we go. I got another 10 minutes until my Uber Eats shows up, and I'm very excited about it, by the way. There's a salmon bowl coming my way. XV has the audacity to say, why am I so hostile? Maybe because of you and a certain amount of other live chats, you guys make it your mission to come in here, put words in my mouth, make defamatory statements, and I got enough time to call it out. I think most of you know me well enough to know that there is no agenda-driven mentality inside this channel. And unlike the Vault, I don't answer to a co-host and the partnership that we have, so I have the time to address some of the nonsense that I see in here. And because this is a smaller community, this is not iSpeed's channel or some other, like there's no moderator. I get to see this stuff and I get to respond to it. I just don't have time for that. I don't have patience for it in this kind of small knit tight community. I don't. So I'm going to call it out. It's not hostility. It's responding to your hostility. There's a difference between the two. There's no hatred aimed at Brian Flores. I don't have any time for that. So you want to call it hostile, take your hostility in the live chat and either show up and grab the guest link and call in and tell me why you think it's hostile, or take your business elsewhere. It's pretty simple. It's pretty darn simple. It's too small of a community for me to just let those things happen in the chat. Jason, I love you. You've been a patron for as long as I can remember. You called in the other day. I love that you did call in. I disagree with you if you think I'm on a Saleh agenda. I think he's one of the most attractive candidates out there, and I'm not talking about his looks. He's a bald-headed assassin that would do darn well in Baltimore, I'll tell you that. So again, the bottom line is, it's too small of a community for me to allow this shit. That's what it is. It's shit to go unanswered. Period. Joseph says, I don't know why, Bobby, but I'm leaning hard on Mike McDaniel. I mean, it's hard not to after you listen to Darren Waller speak, right? Thanks for the super chat, Joe. Appreciate you, man. Again, X, you just figured it out, Mom. X, it's just that stuff's not going to go unnoticed by me. Some days it's hard to multitask. I got time right now because EB, I'm looking at what looks to be like I don't even know what I'm looking at down there. I think he's in his car because he's probably busting his butt mid Amazon shift, and I love his hustle. But I'm not going to allow that to fly. Sorry. You can take that somewhere else. What else? Anybody else? Let's see. What else we got here? Let me just start scrolling up. EB, I'll come to you in a second here. Young Nation wants to know, have I ever met Lamar? I have. I've actually had the honor of interviewing him several times during my days in radio. It was fun. It was when he burst onto the NFL scene, 2019. What else? What else we got here? I love how this works, too. Then people tell me to chill out. I love that. I love that. I get how it works, though. So thank you, X, for being tonight's crash out initiator. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Call in. Let's go. EB, let's give him another chance. 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate you for being with me, as always. Hot channel tonight. Uber Eats on the way. Little salmon bowl for the win. Run it up. Shelly, I love you, too. I love you too, Shelly, especially when you called in last month. But I think you may have missed this comment in terms of disrespect. Disagree with you hard on that one. Back to EB. Chance number 2. He's on the clock. What's going on, brother? 90 seconds. Talk to us.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Let me make sure I get my summary go off, but let me keep my shit together. I'm still sticking with Flores and Kubiak. One question, Bobby. Is Saleh a part of the John Horrible tree?
Robert?
Yeah.
Robert Saleh?
Yeah, is he a part of the John Harbaugh tree?
Negative.
No. All right, then I may have some open mindeds about him because I don't really know much, but yeah, I ain't gonna lie about it because you've been definitely advertising Saleh for the longest, and not just you, but other guests as well. So I'm gonna stop beating the horse as far as with Saleh. I'm gonna be open minded about that. As far as Mike McDaniel, I'm open to that too, but I'm not for Jesse Minter. I'm not. Nah. Nah, I'm not for that because he's about. Oh, because I'm trying to get away from the Harbaugh tree completely, 100%. And I'm absolutely glad we got rid of his ass. Did you see the fact that he's trying to go after Anthony Weaver now? I kind of find that real funny that now that you have a whole new home, now you want to bring a whole different defensive coordinator if you'd have stayed with Baltimore, you'd have ranked it back with Orr. I just find that funny. I'm so glad he's gone. So glad.
EB. Have a good shift, man. Appreciate you. Trey's back. He thinks we're just doing double up, huh? You get another one tonight, huh? 90 for Trey because I like him.
Hey, I guess I'm back. Well, I got Jesse Minter as one. Hopefully you can hear that. So, and Robert Saleh, I'll give you a quick top three. So I got Jesse, I got Robert, and then, man, I'm fighting it. I like McDaniel so much, but as a head coach, he's just not fitting it for me. But as an OC, it's a dream situation. Jesse Minter and McDaniel being the combo, but that also draws attention. Why do you think you think they hard pressed him on OC as an interview, Bobby?
Mac?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I mean, based on what Schrager said earlier this week, remember when it's like a twofold interview process for a lot of these offensive candidates that they're looking at him for both roles? Hell yeah.
Because that's what I'm starting to get that feel more than anything else. I think it's just more of a like, all right, we need an OC. We already know we're going defense. We need an OC type of press. I just that's what I was getting from Peter when he was saying that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had the conversation earlier today, which was more along the lines of like, damn, can you imagine the laid back personality of Mike Mack working on a daily basis with Lamar Jackson? I think that's what excites you. And of course, this was all sparked because of Greg's tweet that you see up on the screen that we discussed multiple times this week that Mike would consider OC jobs if it's not the perfect head coaching opportunity, being that he's already dealt with his level of failure, if you will, even though he was above 500 in Miami. So thanks, Trey.
No problem.
Safe travels, brother. Appreciate you. You know, it's equally as important to get the hire right at offensive coordinator as it is head coach. Because while, of course, it's a collaborative process and effort that Lamar will be involved in across the board, he's going to be working on a daily basis with the OC. And so you want to make sure that hire is a home run for Lamar and his preference, knowing that it might only be a handful of years versus with the head coach, you want this to be for the next decade plus. Prove me wrong, says Saleh, McDaniel, and Flores is a goated trio. I love you. I love you, but we got to start living in reality. Like we have to start living in, I get it. I love dreaming too. I love fantasy land too. But all three are coveted and at least have a handful of head coaching opportunities around the league. Flagship says Nathan Shieldhouse is going to hit our notifications in 2 weeks, and y'all are going to be like, who the fuck is that? There's a chance. Yeah, maybe so. Nate is a young, up-and-coming guy that would be one of those, like, you know, every hire is not, every candidate does not come without its own fair share of risk, especially those that don't have that experience level before. Join the Discord group, guys, if you haven't already done so. It's a 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. And we are coming up on 1,200 overall members. Member number 1,175 just dropped. Welcome to Blitz King. Appreciate you, Blitz. Let's go ahead and drop that. I updated the pinned comment to reflect the free access code. And now I'm dropping into the live chat just once more, just in case you can't see the pinned comment. Go ahead and join. It is a 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. My Uber Eats is posted up at the front door. Salmon tonight, baby, from Hibachi Kitchen, downtown St. Pete. Hell yeah. Delivered by Andrus. Thank you, Andrus. And thanks to all of you for spending some time with me tonight. Thanks to FanDuel for all the support. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of the program as well. Appreciate you guys who super chatted. Appreciate you guys who called in. Probably be live throughout the weekend. Let's be honest. This is a very fluid news cycle. And I'm sure the graphics for the Ravens are going to be dropping here shortly to reflect today's interviews. I would think Shieldhouse and Shula graphics for the virtual interviews that they conducted today from the Rams staff. I would think those are going to be dropping here shortly. So be on the lookout for that. Like the video if you could on the way out, guys. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. A lot of you keep hitting me up through DMs and other areas. Hey, I don't want a super chat. I'd like to donate to the program, though. If you're interested in doing that, a great way to do so is through Venmo or Cash App. You can see it up on the screen right now at Bob Trosset via Venmo. Cash App is with the $, Bob Trosset. Nothing's ever expected. Anything and everything more than appreciated. So thanks to you guys on that front. As always, you can connect with me on Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. Same handle on Twitter. Been pretty active on there, just following this as closely as I possibly can throughout the process at Bobby Baltimore on X or Twitter. So thanks to you guys as always. Thanks to my sponsors. Weekend rolls on. Hope you enjoy it. Hibachi on deck, baby. No more Chinese for this gastro system. I'll tell you that right now. Later.